people refer to relationships as chemistry, and I think that's very true. When you combine hydrogen and oxygen and you put them together, they don't behave the same way as when they're separate. But they also don't behave the same way as they do when you combine them with carbon and nitrogen.
Okay, welcome everyone to None of Your Business Bar. If you weren't here last week, how dare you? Why weren't you there? No, I'm kidding. This is basically a place where we are just gathering as business owners, community group owners, or just general hard workers to just park the business we love and are passionate about and really interested in, just at the door, just for a little bit, while we just chat about whatever comes up. It's like those networking calls that we have that suddenly when you go into breakout rooms, there might be a theme or a question that's been knocking around, but to be honest, you guys just connect and go off on another thread or tangent about maybe what's going on in your personal life or elsewhere or interest, whatever. And we thought, look, why not make a bar where people can hang out like you do in a regular bar, where we just see where the things take us, right? Each week we have a kind of loose topic or question knocking around. So last week it was all about relationships, and it just went on from there. So we're going to look to do the same kind of vein this week. I know Lexi's got something lined up for us, but that's the vibe, guys. So welcome along. And yeah, let's see what transpires out of this thing. So Lexi, what have we got?
The topic is masking. And it was something that like I personally have encountered. So the best way that I could ask the question was like, have you ever been the life of the party while secretly falling apart inside?
Oh. Do you think that's aimed at people with, say, social anxiety?
I don't think it's exclusive to people with social anxiety. I feel like people who might like have a lot on their plate or be going through something and they don't really have the capacity to process it while they're currently going through whatever they're going through in the present. So it's like, if the reason why I say the life of the party is because, like, let's say you had a birthday party to attend to, but you're not doing so great because of something you're dealing with inside, but it's your best friend. So, you have to show up for them, so that's right. Where masking comes in.
What do people in the bar reckon?
Yeah, Peter, Kenneth, Alan.
It's a great question. I remember when I was doing my bachelor's almost 20 years ago, and I had just overcome my own social anxiety, and I had met this guy in a bar randomly, and 2 months later we were in Bulgaria together at a 2-week vacation, and he kind of pushed me out of my own comfort zone to talk to girls and talk to people in general, and it taught me that life is not as scary as I portrayed it to be in my head. So I finally began feeling confident, and then I started studying, and I experienced me being like the big man on campus. People wanted to hang out with me. People wanted me to take up space. They wanted to get to know me. And in my head, in the deepest part of me, I was like, no, they're not serious. They don't actually like me. There's right. So I put on a mask, being this cool, confident, good guy, and I always had an excuse not to show up at the parties. And after 3 years of masking, one of the girls that I had personally wanted to get to know for many years, she was like, Peter, why are you so, I don't know the word in English, but it's like, well, yeah, why are you so arrogant? We're like, am I arrogant? I'm not arrogant. I'm just I'm just trying to protect myself. And then it hit me. The mask I had put on, it was a stupidly arrogant mask, but I was just trying to protect myself. So that's what I'm thinking when we're like this to the world, and inside is like, yeah, if it's an imposter syndrome idea, you know, or whatever, but it's a beautiful contradiction.
Nice. I like how you fit that in there. I actually resonate with that a lot, because a lot of the times the way that I am and like the quirkiness that I've had like to me, I don't really share it unless it's like in a very personal space, like a one-to-one type of situation, not so much in like a group setting, unless I like know everybody there. But yeah, usually I'll do that too, because it literally will be the same thought where I'm just like, oh no, like I don't know if they'll like my quirkiness. They might think it's weird the way that I do X, you know? So yeah, I relate to that a lot. Thank you, Peter. Kenneth, Allen, or Christopher, anybody have inputs?
So most of my life, I had been known as a person that was the party, the life of the party. And I want to say from the last decade, I was just like tired of holding that frame for other people. So for me, it was just like one facet of who I was, but I did like put up the mask or put up the front whenever I wasn't feeling well. And then when that started to break in front of my friends, they were like, oh, you're not your typical self. But it was only like one layer of it, right? Like the expectation is kind of like when you had your school teacher and you saw him outside of school, you're like, what are you doing here in the grocery store? Like, you don't belong here.
You
like
need food.
Yeah. It's like, what you live in the classroom. There's you don't
You don't eat.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't exist in any other space except the classroom in my mind. And I think in most people's minds, I was the person to always like call when everyone was having a rough time, but it didn't pass in their minds that I could be struggling or having a hard time. So I guess like that delta, I was just tired with. And of course, like I still hold that frame, but to such a lesser degree. And I wouldn't call it like I was faking who I was or imposter, but it was definitely like one of those where people thought I was the mask, like that.
Yes.
That is the representation of who I am as an individual through and through, just like the example of the teacher. It's like when people have this image of who you are, that's what you stay, regardless how much time passes by. There's a lot of times where people only knew me in middle school, and I am that same person. I've never evolved outside of the view of what they remember me as. It's like, you're not even the same person. Of course, I'm not the same person. Yeah, there's remnants of my core personality, but I am not the 13-year-old that would watch like these shows, these cartoons. I'm this 40-year-old that watches the same cartoons. That's who I am now. No, but
Come on, Ken, what cartoons were there? We want to know.
yeah. Of course, The Simpsons, South Park. I don't know if we have any fans, but
Oh, do we?
thank you. Thank you. But that's kind of like my insight on being the life of the party, the center. It was great when it benefited others, but I saw it become a problem to everyone else when that was no longer the mechanism for them, because I had to be human. I had to show other sides of myself, and that really messed with their perception. So
Yeah, I feel like when people do that, the reason why they have a hard time detaching is because it also breaks a part of their identity, because it's how they identify you. So it would be the same thing as, if you were always quiet at holiday family gatherings, then you're just always quiet. Or like if you used to talk a lot and then all of a sudden you became quiet, then it's just like, what's going on with you? How come you don't talk a lot anymore? And it's just like, I haven't been for the past decade. What do you mean? And it's just like, yeah, I remember you used to talk a lot. It's just like, yeah, I'm like in a different phase of my life now. So, oh, Kenneth is admiring. You can say it, Kenneth.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt. I was like, oh, I see it. See Christopher rocking out the hat.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Christopher, Alan, did you guys have any thoughts on masking?
Well, masking is a term that comes up often in the literature about ADHD, and how, for example, if you happen to be particularly good at picking up from the clues how something is done, and you're more adept at it than other people, but at the same time you have difficulty with the reading or some other rote task, you can end up masking the role of the attentive student who does well on the tests and all the rest of that, but really you just listened during the lecture and you didn't do any of the homework. And actually, I was very much that. I was bombing 6th grade math because I was not doing any of the homework, but then I was acing the standardized tests, and which ended up, setting me on a far different path than most of my peers. So masking that's just a phenomenon that happens, especially with neurospicy people. But when it came to people talking about being the life of the party when they're dying inside, I was actually very obviously dying on the inside. Everybody knew I was dying, and I could not fake not being morose when I was in a bad mood. So I have managed to do a lot of masking in a lot of ways, and then in other ways, as one of my former girlfriends once said, "You're just not capable of lying," for example, and yet I'm very capable of appearing to be something different, if that makes any sense. Anyway, but imposter syndrome, I'm sure I'm the only other person on the call other than everybody else who has spoken to experience imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I think imposter syndrome is what happens when you're starting off on anything. So like even just like as a kid. So everyone goes through some sort of imposter syndrome. Yeah, thank you, Alan. You said that when it comes down to how you actually feel, you don't even try to mask, like you don't even try to hide it. But then in other situations, you do mask?
Well, when I was, I guess some emotions are easier for me to smooth over than others. But yeah, when I'm feeling despondent or depressed, there's no faking that one. I remember going through a really bad breakup, and it's New Year's Eve, and my friends are all like, "Come on, we're gonna go do this thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know I should go, and I'm going, but I'm not going to be happy about it." And I had to have been the worst. But yeah, other things in terms of playing a role. Who hasn't on occasion run into a very specific situation where it's like, I don't belong here, but I'm going to pretend like I belong here and I'm going to get away with it. And then you do, and you do. Or you modify your behavior in another way. Like normally you would jump in the conversation, but you deliberately hold yourself back because you want to be careful to be not too familiar until the ice has been broken, kind of thing. That also happens. Trying to not present yourself as the smartest person in the room. I know that sounds terrible, but you know, when you're in a situation where you're like, I don't think they need to know that I know what's going on here, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like everyone in the room right now has experienced that in some sort of way. I recall a time where Peter was dealing with something like that, where he knows that being the smartest person in the room isn't necessarily well received, so he dims it down a lot. He talks about it in like a video that he was in that actually went viral. But yes. Thank you, Alan. Christopher, do you have any thoughts on masking?
Well, I don't really know. Because like the mask, it's like every identity we associate with is all of the mind. It's all ego at the end of the day. And really, it doesn't matter. It does and it doesn't matter what identity we choose to embrace. Like, I have several identities. I'm wearing a yellow hat right now with sunglasses. This is one of my identities. But I'm not like I'm so multi-dimensional that I can't settle for one. It's like there's so many costumes. Which one do I wear today? But behind all of that is awareness. I'm just gonna call it that. An awareness that is aware of, it's a growing consciousness. And the identities are all just costumes. So all these masks, when somebody says, I am for sure this, it's just another awareness, just like me, pretending to be what they say they are. But they could really be that too, because we're in a human body and we're playing out a human character, living out that human character's life. And that human character has certain personalities and attributes, and that's what the masks are for. So I guess that's just all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with what everyone said here, and I resonate with all of it. And yeah, I feel like it's, for me in particular, I don't call it masking necessarily. It's more like just different identities. So it's just like my whole thing is like feline, fatale, like a cat that has 9 lives. So I've mentioned a lot this year how I feel like I'm no longer living these lives separately. I'm actually learning how to merge them all together so that it's just entirely me. So just like how you're saying with the different identities that kind of come up, I feel like that's what it is, because sometimes the identity has to do with like a mood. Like sometimes I'm just in a really creative mood. Sometimes I'm in a really like fun mood. Sometimes I'm in a sarcastic mood. So I feel like all of that comes into play too. There's been times where I'm like known for being like a really nice person, and like I'll be talking to someone. They're like, wow, you're like extra sassy today. You've got like a little extra fire on you today. And I'm just like, oh, yes, I must be thinking out loud. Okay. So, yeah. What do you think, Fashad? What do you think of what everybody's said here?
Oh, no, there's loads of insights, but I'm just wary that like my business is at the door, and this is partly at where my business is really about. Has anyone ever tried to work out how many masks or characters or identities they actually have? Like we've all talked about in various guises that their masks, their costumes, their identities. Has anyone ever sat down and gone, what are all of them? It's such a fun thing to do, and at the same time very revealing, because all what we've talked about is they're all created, I think, by our subconscious, whatever term you want to use, right? Mask, character, identity, persona. To people have used the word protection. It's true. So my experience has been like, okay, what's it protecting me from? Because all these identities and characters and stuff, they're automatically pitched by our subconscious to deal with what's going on in that moment. So, you know, an early example you think of is like your first day at school. You're in a random new place with a load of random people. Your parents aren't there, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then your subconscious like, right, we better not die here, so we'd better create a character or mask to deal with what's going on. So it was how you typically were at school. You know, Ken, you mentioned a teacher, right? So when teacher speaks, you listen to them. All right, they're an adult, they should know what's going on here. I'll listen to them. So you paid attention, did your homework or didn't, whichever you want. So that was like your character at school. So whenever next time you enter the building, you're like, at school, I've got to be how I am at school. It's automatic. The subconscious goes, right, you know what to do as a character. Go for it. And we do that all through life. Whatever situation we go, and we still make them all the time, whether it's to help process an emotion, to deal with a situation, all that kind of stuff. But it's such a fun thing to do. And while we're talking about the word mask, right, I just thought of the Jim Carrey film, The Mask, right? Like when he puts it, I'm sure everyone's seen it, right? I hope, or heard of it. But essentially when he puts it on, it's to hide or protect him from his shy, introverted, quiet character. He wants to pull Cameron Diaz, don't we all? So it's like exactly smoking. So it's like all of a sudden he came across this mask, which when he put on, there was this loud, extravagant character, which he thought he had to be. As interesting as people said, like, you know, I'm being what people want me to be, rather than like, is this actually who I am? So I wonder what people reckon of like, okay, so what is the general gist of masks? What we protecting ourselves from? The idea sounds good, but what is it that we're protecting? What do we reckon?
I think it's the what you were saying, like being well received. For me, there's
so why do we want to be well received?
Because there's times where I don't like, I'm going through whatever I'm going through inside, and I don't want to project it. I don't want to spread what I feel, because I feel like I would be interrupting another person's process, and I don't want to do that. So it's just like, let's say I'm going through it and my dad comes over and visits. Like, I will mask just as much as I can, because I don't want him to have like such a terrible experience. I only see him like once a week, so I want to enjoy my time with him. So I will compartmentalize, so to speak, like whatever I'm feeling, and I'll do my best not to project it, you know, to the best of my ability of whatever is going on that day. So I do it, yes, as protection, but it's also like, why would I stress my dad out? You know, like he's retired now, and he's like much older. So I just want to have as many happy memories as I can with him. So that's more important to me than trying to entertain whatever feelings I have inside, and using that to enable a certain type of behavior that comes from projecting. So,
Alan, what do you mean by ego?
Well, the idea there, you were asking about, you know, what are you protecting? Well, you're protecting yourself from rejection. I think in the scenario that you were talking about, but there are other ways of masking as well that aren't about protection. They're about uh, changing. I do remember very clearly an occasion where I've always been reticent to make the first move. For example, if I'm interested in somebody, just because, you know, when you're raised in an environment where that is discouraged, and then you go out into the world and you grew up with that not being a thing, and then at some point you see somebody you're interested in, and you're like, well, what would I do if I were somebody who was more gregarious, more forward? And so on this one particular occasion, I put on the mask of somebody who would just go for it, and I went for it. And it was, I don't know if you would call it an experiment or what, but it wasn't about protecting myself. It was actually about chipping away at the protection. So
Yeah.
was I wearing a mask when I was not moving forward, when I thought I wanted to move forward, or was I wearing the mask when I decided to move forward, even though all of my instincts said no, don't? So
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I like that one, Alan.
It sounds then, as you said, when you mentioned like these character choices are made automatically by our subconscious to just carry on. But when we interrupt that by going, wait, what if I did this instead? You're right, it could be a new character formation, could be. But the more I think we practice consciously going, yeah, I'm actually going to do something different here. And maybe people feel that live pull and push in the moment of like, you know, do I approach them? Do I not? All that kind of, all those thought patterns, right? But when you can actually go, no, I'm going to do something. I'm reticent to say something different because that just sounds a bit too twee, but it's more like, I think it's opening up another possibility of like, well, let's just see what happens. It's a possibility that, yeah, it could go wrong, but it like, or whatever wrong means, but might be the other way. It's just giving yourself the chance, I think, to not just let because the masks do a great job, I reckon, of getting us through life. If they're not, I don't think we need to, you know, fight them or demonize them or go, they're all rubbish and they're all not working, because, well, you're alive for a start, so it's kept you alive. And also, you know, they're meeting needs for us as humans. It do in the best way that we know. Now, if there are better ways, then we can get new costumes. We can upgrade them. You know, with the, you know, Chris's Wario hat, you might get the Wario overalls as well, right? Stuff like that. So, yeah, I think when you consciously practice that, of like, no, I think you get to speak to the unmasked version of yourself. So I think we do have that. There is an unmasked version somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, it could be even just like we didn't start off as wearing a mask, but we learned to just keep putting masks on as we were growing up. And then once we start becoming conscious of it, we slowly start chipping away at each mask that we wear. Just like what Alan says, it's like, if you make a conscious choice, is it really masking anymore, or is it just making a choice to do something you're scared of, or to experiment with something you haven't done before to see what would happen, so that you're not just believing whatever fears or beliefs that your brain is telling you or what you've been conditioned to believe. You're actually going, well, what if I don't do that, or what if I try something different? And, you know, I mean, Alan, when you did it, how did you feel afterwards about the experience?
well, it didn't. First of all, I was rewarded by being able to engage immediately with this person, and we became friends fairly quickly. And you know, and friendship was the aim, and yet it didn't lead to a fundamental change in how I tended to behave. I still, as a general rule, tended to be more aloof. And you ultimately come to the question of which one is the mask, because once you get to know people, you're whoever you are in that relationship. But we're different in different relationships. I think people refer to relationships as chemistry, and I think that's very true. When you combine hydrogen and oxygen and you put them together, they don't behave the same way as when they're separate. But they also don't behave the same way as they do when you combine them with carbon and nitrogen. So it's
that's a top analogy. I like that.
Thank you. It's something I've been thinking about for a while because I mean, it's chemistry, and I know we've all had that experience when I'm with this person, I feel blank. I feel insecure. I feel safe. I feel worried or dread or whatever, and they may not bring that same feeling out in other people. And you don't feel that way around other people, but it's just that particular thing, that particular combination. But in this one specific case where I put on the mask of, and this is the question, was I putting on the mask of somebody who was brave, or was I taking off the mask that was what kept me at a distance until I got to know people? But with that person, because we accelerated so quickly into a friendship, that actually led to the two of us engaging in the same behavior with other groups of people. So it was an highly unusual for me situation where, since that relationship was very forward, the two of us were forward when we were put into social situations together. It was like we were playing a game with the rest of the world. And it was kind of fun. And yet I didn't do that with any of the other, or at least not with many of the other people I ended up similarly getting together with.
Nice.
Well then.
I realize it's like I apologize if I'm dominating the conversation. That's not my intention.
Not at all. Not at all. Ken,
Yeah,
Peter, what do you reckon? What do you reckon, Ken?
Yeah.
Or Pete, whichever, whomever.
I think it's about survival, man. It's all about survival. We're social creatures, and we need people. We need to survive. Our brain is wired for survival, and through the midst of it all, we're a storyteller. That's what we are. And the egos, or whatever you want to call it, it's narratives, stories. And the more you believe in a story, the more manifested that story becomes. And then at the same time, we're not just one story. I am the story that lives in my friend's in my friend's mind of who I am. So when I went through my own emotional landscape, can you mute yourself, Christopher, please? When I went through my own emotional landscape and figure out, okay, where am I people pleasing? Where am I me? Where am I? Because I feel like, yeah, we are the consciousness experiencing itself and all of that. Good times, hooray. And we have different faces. We have different mask, different ego. Yes, good times, whatever. We also have a DNA. We have a genetic imprint that says that this mask is more, or this identity is more natural to whatever genetic code that this physical body has. And you know when you're living through that genetic imprint and through that genetic code, and you know when you're not. So when I went through my entire life and I was like, okay, where am I people pleasing? What am I actually? What is actually me? What is my non-negotiable for Peter? Then I had the emotional route of deconstructing my own masks and figuring out, okay, what faces do I put on? What masks do I put on with my parents? What masks do I put on with my at work with my spouse? And that was exhausting, because we're not scripted to put on. We're not hard coded to put on all of these masks. I've had clients who has been hyper religious, but they had to put on a mask at work every day and hide their own true self, which leads to burnout. And so we're doing it to survive. And I think most of us have forgotten who we are, and we don't know the natural self of us. So we mask it. We try to fit in. We try to become someone. And the first thing that happens when I started working out and eating differently and thinking differently is that all of my old friends, they were like, so you're becoming a fitness freak now? And then they're noticing that their idea of who I am is being challenged. Because when I'm growing, they are forced to grow. When I am evolving, they are forced to evolve or forced to lose contact with me. And that is scary. And that brings us back to survival again. So when I work with clients, I usually, okay, it's not business, but then it's like, what's on stage? The things that's on stage, that's what people get to see. And the more afraid I am, the more masks I have. And I notice some people, they're almost maskless, but that's also a type of fear, because they go strong, they go hard out. This is me, and blah, blah, blah. You just have to deal with it. It's me. That's also a mask, because humans are supposed to be loving, caring, soft, and all about survival. And the less soft and changeable we are hard coded to be like children for our entire life. We are hard coded to be able to change our mind almost in an instant. We're hard coded to be in a fight and then make up and become friends again. That's our hard coding, but we've forgotten how to do that. And the more afraid we are, the more difficult it becomes to be our true self. And we need to just be, okay, this is me. This is me. And if you just repeat that phrase in your head right now, it's just like, okay, this is me. It's going to feel good. And then the scaredness or being afraid, and that comes second. That comes after. It comes after sitting with yourself and being like, yeah, this is me. I thought maybe I was that. Maybe I thought maybe okay, but this is actually me. This is where I'm starting, because now I'm taking back my own pen and I'm beginning to write my new narrative, because that's how we are hardwired to do. And that's what I find fascinating about my own journey. And I think that's why it's so difficult for me. It was lifestyle change and losing weight, super difficult, because everybody had opinions on who I was. And it's like what Ken said earlier about the school teacher thing. Like, I was Peter. I was a social guy who drank a little bit too much, and I had the darkest of jokes, and I was a little bit discriminatory. That was me. And people could use me because I would always do it a little bit worse than them. I was always a little bit less in shape. I was always a little bit fatter than them. So they could always use me as a leverage to feel better about themselves. And the moment I began to level up, it's like, that's super, super scary. And for me, going into whatever I'm venturing into right now, this is also scary, because now I'm comfortable again. Now I need to re-script. I've become the healthy, strong, fit person that I wanted to be. And I'm like, okay, fuck, what do I do now? I have to do it all over again. And this is the beauty of being human. And it's yeah, fuck the masks, man. But we have the masks, but it's it's still us, our ability to go in and out and just figure out who am I, and get that pen, buy the fucking pen and start writing your story, because that's how we're hardwired to do, and change our minds and flow with everything around us, and be less afraid of fitting in and be more afraid of not being fluid enough to be able to fit in, because that's what's real. Yeah, I went out. That was a good rant.
It's exactly what the bar's about, lad.
Good times.
Yeah, man. lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah. Both Alan and Peter. Kenneth, Christopher, do you guys like to add anything?
I think, Christopher, you had some. You seem like you're like attentive for a little bit. You're like, I'm ready. I know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm working on my listening thing, because everything that's been said, I've like learned in solitude, and dissecting reality. The you got to be careful with that though, because then you lose yourself real easily. Actually, you will lose yourself. That's a guarantee. But the what Alan said earlier about the person you were with, how it just clicked, and then when you're in public with that person, you're just like, it's easier to be yourself. Those relationships are really rare. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be a friend. Like, I got a friend in India. He's my brother. Like, literally, I can't explain it. Not in this lifetime, but our souls are like, he's my younger brother. And the first time we met, we talked for like 7.5 hours. And I met him on Discord, just completely online. I haven't even met him in person yet, but we connected so deeply that night. And it was so easy to just be myself. And myself, I can't really put a definition on it, because I'm ever changing. When your soul is so multidimensional that the second you say my soul is this, it changed already. That's why I kind of look at this. Oh, and another thing you were saying, this reality to me is a game. Like Earth, I'm here on Earth doing my set amount of time, and then when I'm 80 or 100 years old, I'm going to leave. I'm going to drop the body, but that's not the end of me. That's not the end of my awareness. So I just work on being whatever character I want, really. Because if I'm Christopher, if I'm Panda, if I'm wearing the Wario hat with the green sunglasses, it doesn't matter what people call me or see me as. I'm just going to be me, and I can be whatever I want. You know, and I wish everyone would embrace that more. Because it's like, it would make the world more unique. Like, I understand we got to go to work and, you know, play the terms and conditions or whatever. I felt the past week, I felt really numb too. And then somebody I don't know, said something to my Indian brother that like pissed me off last night. And then I woke up, this was like at 3 a.m, and then I went for a run outside because I was like steaming mad. But that fury, that fire I felt inside of me, like made me feel alive. And
Can you share what your friend was told?
So we're working with this girl that has an idea for a video game, and it wasn't like too bad. But when somebody's like saying, no, I want you to like not be in your expression. Like, I don't know. To me, I took it like the wrong way. I think the biggest thing for me was it sounded like he has to like fit the mold, like her mold of that. But when you're creating something new, I don't know. It's like a double-edged sword, because it's not that she wasn't wrong or right. I can't explain it, but I know that whatever she said set me off. I'd have to look up the text directly, but I'm not going to do that right now. Anyway, I just got set off, but that gave me a jump start. You see, like God, the source, whatever you want to call it, that like I feel like circumstances in life will happen like that to sort of like jumpstart us if we're stuck. And it's like a way of becoming unstuck. Because when that happened, when I became furious, the mask dropped. I was completely in my emotions and feeling everything and allowing myself to feel everything. And then I like calmed down after the run. And then I was like, oh, that actually helped me because now I don't feel numb and spiritually dead. So it's like I feel like rejuvenated, I guess is the best word for it. And then like the rest of the day went by like really smoothly, and I was a different person at work. Like Saturday when I worked, I was kind of like off, and then when I went into work Sunday, I was like complete reverse. Where yeah, I just didn't care what others think, and I was just being me. And in my mind, there was peace. There was no suffering. So it's like, yeah.
So it sounds like you
I
use your
like that.
character base to deal with situations. So when a
Yeah.
certain emotion came up, like being pissed off, right, I'm going to run for it, like Forrest Gump. Well, maybe not Forrest Gump, but
Yeah. Well, and I'm kind of like Forrest Gump. I wing all of life. I don't really have a set, like where I'm gonna go, where I'm gonna be a year from now, or how much money I'm gonna be making, or who I'm gonna be living with. I have no clue, dude. Like I don't know. I love living life like that because I want to be free, and freedom is the biggest thing for me. Freedom and inner like peace. And for some reason, like when I'm not in control of my life and I just hand my life over to source and God's like, okay, you're going here next. Oh, cool. Let's go see what this is about. And life is just one giant adventure for me. And I love living that way. Now that has its consequences, but I actually made a 2-minute video on this when I was at work yesterday. I said that if you're living a life that is not aligned with what you want in the inside, because no matter how you live, there's consequences either way. So whatever path you choose, there's stuff that's going to happen. But if you're living a life that you're totally aligned with inside, then you're not suffering those consequences. You're living those consequences. And if you're choosing a life that you're not aligned with inside, then you're suffering the consequences because that's not really what you want. Because the life comes the whole package, good, bad, everything in between. So it's like if you're, say you want to do van life, but you're scared to live in your car or whatever in Walmart parking lots, but you really want to do it. Like in your heart, you're like, this is for me. I've seen YouTube videos of people doing this. I don't care if it's dangerous. I'm going to go do it. Because if I don't do it, I'm going to regret it. And if I'm living in that regret, then I'm suffering. So that's just an example. But
Thank you, Christopher. I, again, resonate with that as well. That is actually a really good way to put it when I say, like, I feel like all my, like, 9 lives are, like, merging. That's, like, a good way to put it, where it's just, like, whoever I want to be on whatever day is what I'll attempt to do. And that's, like, where I try to, like, fall into more now. No, Alan. Not living in Walmart parking lots. Resonate with the, like, the different parts of you just merging and just being in that. I like to go into that as much as possible, and I do my best to remind myself like that's the whole point. And if I don't remember, life, like how you said something triggered you when you were just feeling numb. So in the cases where I do forget, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, definitely does, like, put something to remind me. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I really want. And I've just noticed it happening a lot more frequently when I do get a little off track or, like, sidetracked for a little bit, when I pick a side quest. And then life's just like, hey, you gotta, too far, bring it back. You gotta reel it back in. So I'm known for that. Yeah, so Kenneth, do you have any additional thoughts?
There are a lot of things kind of going through my mind as we're just talking about different layers of identity, ego, and mass. And like one thing that really surfaced up was there's individuals that end up wearing masks literally all their lives, and they may come to a point where they're tired of wearing the mask, but since they've been doing it the entirety of their memory, then they don't even know who they are, like after they put down the mask. So they have an identity crisis. And then another thought that really surfaced is if let's say a mother is not in front of their children anymore and they're in front of like a boardroom because they're a CEO, does that make them less of a mother? Or is it how people perceive you? Because it's the game of like, this is what I should do when I'm in the state. But for everyone else, it's like who their identity is. So is it how you feel you are and it's one layer, or is it I'm everyone else's projection? So like for me, I could be a brother, I could be a son, I could be a friend, but to one person, I could only be one aspect of that. So what is your true like form? And some of it is our mass. So like, I don't know. So like, that's the cascading ideas that are kind of flowing in my head. No direction, no conclusion. It's more of like ellipses of thoughts.
Ellipses of thoughts. Nice.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like when we bring it down, whatever we break it down to, I feel like we're all of it. That's always what I'll think at the end of it. Whenever the thing with me and my community in school is, you know, you're both things. Like, and when I talk to people, if they say they're one thing or the other, I say, why can't you be both? Like, why do you have to pick? Like, you know, bittersweet wouldn't exist if you can't be both bitter and sweet about something, on like a feeling of something. Because you can just be like, oh, like, I'm so happy that I had this experience, but I'm so sad that it's ending, you know? So I feel like that is basically like how we operate, like as humans. It's like a big reason why there's like the human paradox, where it's just like, you can know what you want to do and not do it, and you are both at the same time, even though it's technically like a contradiction. Or you try to be, I don't know, you are wanting to live your life a certain way, but at the same time, you also resonate with something that doesn't necessarily have to do with that life. So let's say you like to live a luxurious lifestyle, but in the background, you're like a closet gamer and you love to watch anime. Like, why can't you just be both? Like, why do you have to be one or the other and only known as one or the other? And I feel like that's a big reason why, for me, like I've done the whole thing where like I just go off 9 lives. Like that's been something that I identify with for a long time, because everyone would try to put me in like certain parts. Like I even have like different names for all the things that I do, like different aliases. So instead of trying to be all these different aliases to certain people and known as a certain personality or certain image in different parts of the world or different communities, I'm just trying to be like whoever I choose to be in that day, and whoever like I feel like I resonate. And sometimes it's a feeling that I'm going through in the sense of like nervous system dysregulation. So I can be a really cheery person when I talk to someone, and then the next time I talk to them, I'm not so cheery because I have a headache. and it's like pounding. So then it's just like, you know, I can just be like, oh yeah, I have a headache. But yeah, anyways, and then just continue to talk, because it goes back to where like, I don't want to project that energy. And also like, I just don't want to, like, if I can help it, I don't want to ruin like things for other people. You know, it's like I don't want to give them any kind of spoilers for whatever they're going on, like in their journey or their day. If anything, it always comes back to, I would rather leave people better than when I found them or when I started talking to them. So that's where.
Do you reckon that's people pleasing?
I don't know if it would be a people pleasing thing, because in other ways, like I also, this is going to go back to what I'm saying about like the contradictions. I also don't care. So it's like, in the sense of, I do care about presenting myself as someone that doesn't allow like background things to take over their life. I don't want to be someone that is like ruled by their emotions, especially if I'm like having a bad day in particular. I'm okay with being ruled by my emotions when I'm in a really happy mood, unless it's like inappropriate for the environment. But it's like, I'd rather be where it is that I am, there where I am, and it not interrupt other people's stuff. So it's just like, with like some of you, like I talk to on a fairly like regular basis, and it's just like, I'll have like a headache for a little bit, but I'm also like texting you and I'm like, yeah, but how are you doing? What's new with you? LOL. And then cat laughing emojis, you know? So it's like, just because I feel a certain way, I don't feel like, I think it's more like, I don't want to spread those energies or those vibes. So usually what I normally would have done in the past is just be by myself, because I don't want other people to feel that way. But now I'm just kind of like, okay, if I don't feel like I need to block myself off, and I do want to communicate with other people instead of isolating myself, then I'll just let them know, like, hey, I'm not feeling too well. But anyways, you know, and then we just go from there. Because sometimes when I talk to people and I'm not doing too well, or I'm feeling under the weather, talking to that person actually makes me feel better. So I'd rather that be the effect of like what happens. So that's why it's like, I try to contribute the best that I can in the situation. But yes, Peter.
Go on, Pete.
Yeah, I just had a question. How you said unless it's appropriate or inappropriate for the setting or environment. How do we know? How do we judge what's appropriate or inappropriate for a situation?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, good. Go ahead.
So for me, I'll bring it back to like my dad, where it's just like, I already know that my dad has like certain things that he's stressed out about. I don't want to bring him more stress. That is a personal responsibility that I am okay with taking. That is a part of like how I prefer to operate, you know, and if we want to call it an identity or like who I am kind of thing. But it's just like, it's legitimately like how I feel inside. When I break it down as to why, and it's just like, because whatever emotions I'm feeling in this moment aren't going to be the memories that I remember forever. The ones that I'll remember are the ones that I enjoyed with my dad. Like last week I was struggling, but when my dad visited, we watched like a 3-hour movie, and it was just so nice because I felt so happy that even though I didn't feel great, I was like, oh, but I introduced my dad to a movie that he really enjoyed, because it's usually the other way around, because I don't really watch that many things, but I just happened to fall upon like a really good movie, and I was like, you got to watch it, you know. And
what did you watch?
Project Hail Mary. Yeah. Does that answer your question, sense. Peter? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like an emotional maturity that you know how and or where to take up space with your own emotions, right?
Yes, it's a choice. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of implicitly asks another question, at least for me. How can we be sure that it's a conscious choice that is benefiting us, and when is it a unconscious I don't want to take up too much space choice?
For me personally, my body tells me. That's what I take as a signal. I will usually, how I've normally operated is I will just go because I think this is what I should do, or these are the choices I'm making, regardless of what my nervous system will tell me, regardless of the feelings that I'll feel like in my gut, whatever. Now it's, you know, I think about it. Like I actually like think about it a lot, where it's, if I have a time where it's not a pleasant time with my dad, I get really upset about it. Like it really genuinely bothers me. And even if it's just one time in a bunch of months, just one time, it bothers me that that was a memory that I created with him. And it's not what I intend to do. So it just brings me back to do better, you know, like figure out what works for you. If that means you need to take more off your plate or operate a different way, then try, you know, experiment with that to see, because really what it is I want to be someone that does have the capacity to be able to be there for others, even if I'm going through it, because no matter what happens in life, someone's always going to go through it. And I'm always going to have something that I'm going through, especially because I'm always going to want to learn and do a lot of inner work. So it just makes more sense to me that I just build my capacity to be the person that I want to become. So that way I can be there for the people that I love and care about.
Go on, Alan, you want to say something?
Well, I was going to say that over the course of a lifetime, you also pick up clues and cues as to how some scenarios and some situations you would best behave to get the reaction that you want. My sister and I are, we grew up in sort of a rough and tumble inner city environment, and we have both emerged such that these days, when we're sending messages back and forth, we're frequently giving each other the middle finger. We're frequently calling each other names, and when we're doing it around our combined kids or other family members, the kids all get it, but the kids don't behave the same way with either with themselves or with us. They know that wouldn't fly. But likewise, when I would spend time with my Methodist minister grandparents, who were the loveliest people you would ever meet. Yeah, I don't think my sister and I would engage in that sort of communication style, either with them or in front of them. You just sort of intuit over time which role you're going to play and which language you're going to use to convey yourself.
So true.
But yeah, thinking about Peter's question, an English teacher friend of mine used to refer to situational language. That we use different vocabulary, situational vocabulary. We express ourselves differently depending upon who we're with, and it could be the topics we talk about. I'm not going to bring up matters of well, you could imagine there's any number of matters I wouldn't bring up with my Methodist minister grandparents. Whereas there's also a lot of questions. There's a lot of conversations I would have with them that I wouldn't necessarily have with coworkers. So, just thought.
Yeah, the situational awareness is good, and maybe that's like a ever changing balance. The balance between having a high situational awareness or a high inclination towards monitoring yourself or putting yourself on pause in order to protect the perceived peace or perceived energy of a situation. which could turn into people pleasing. Maybe an advanced edition of it. I don't know. So no, that's the balance between knowing what's right and what's benefiting the situation versus taking up space because it's your right. That balance is very interesting.
You bring up the people-pleasing aspect of things, and that is, it's actually something I've been accused of being a people pleaser by somebody, and I came to realize that in some circumstances she's absolutely right. But if I don't bring up certain subjects, I mean, I use my grandparents as an example because they were, again, the nicest, pleasantest, very religious people that you would ever meet, and I don't think not bringing up subjects in front of them is people pleasing. It's just a context. But yeah,
no, I agree. Not bringing up subjects, but not expressing opinions on certain topics that would
sure
more tend towards people pleasing.
It just sounds like practice.
Yeah.
Like, I think when we preload any situation with expectations of how it's going to turn out, because in our minds we want a certain outcome, and we try and gear or influence the situation to get the outcome, whether that's live, as you said, like, should I refrain from saying certain things or tone my engagement accordingly? And then afterwards we'll do that kind of, if anyone's a sports fan, you know, that post-match analysis of like, so what went here, what could have been better here? Or we always default to what did we miss. We forget though, wait, actually we had a nice time, an interaction or outcome, whatever. But we're always like, what did I miss? And that, I think, comes from unmet needs, unmet expectations, and then we have a choice. I can either beat ourselves up for what we missed, or go, actually, yeah, overall it was all right, even if it wasn't. And then if you give yourself the idea that I can stay kind to myself, and next time something comes up like this, there's more evidence for you to fall back on, or data to work with. Or also the idea that I can practice something else of like, what happens if I had no expectations here? Which is difficult, because it's constant practice of what it looks like for us. Because say, like, coming back to Lex, your original point of the whole thing, everybody else feels like they're enjoying themselves, or you being like the life of the party and trying to join in, but inside you feel like, oh, fuck this. Or that nagging feeling of like, there should be something else going on, happening, an outcome going on. I'd say it's just practice, and also from the idea of like, we're human and we will fuck up.
Yeah,
we're not a machine. We're not going to get it right all the time, even with all our practice and all of our work and all of that stuff. It does not mean that when you do it once, oh, that's it, I'm done, I'm better than you lot, so sod you all. It's we will still enter it. Like, we've met multiple people on this call have said about at this bar, I should say, have resonate with the idea of, we're born with no masks, we have no programming when we start, and we are children. You know, we you know, Peter put it like, you know, we go through life as like we are meant to be in a childlike state, but if anyone is like that, we will label them as like, you know, they're immature, they're not grown up. And like, well, what's it come down to? Ultimately, it's like, I always get it to people, yeah, Ken, exactly, you're still a child, exactly, watching Simpsons and South Park, exactly, damn right, we should be all doing that. Other cartoons are available, but I think these masks that we have are there to survive in life, as Peter put it, through the prism of meeting needs. Like, you know, one of my biggest needs is certainty and control. I'd like to be assured of what's going on around me, as much as I can, which leads me to overthinking. And is it something I want to destroy, get rid of, or scorn myself all the time? No, it's like, I'll practice that. Because the evidence will show you the opportunity. If overthinking, for example, gets you in a situation like, oh, fuck this, or I can't, I wear myself out. I don't, everybody else seems to have a good time, but like, I've put so much in, I'm exhausted. I can't continue. Well, there's your opportunity. You carry on like this, or you actually want to do something about it. And if you don't want to, that's okay. Sometimes we forget half the point of all this is like, I have these masks, and that's okay. Don't have to go, right, throw them all away and sod that. It's how we choose to look at it.
Yeah, I don't feel like I said, I feel like we can be all of it. We can be everything. We can be anything that we want to be. We can be whatever. Just because we feel a certain way doesn't mean we have to act on it. Just because we think of something doesn't mean we have to entertain the thought. But I am curious with Peter, because he talked about people pleasing, and in previous conversations talked about taking up space. And I know that's something that he's gone through. What do you feel like, Peter, is a good balance to figuring out the refinement of knowing when you're taking up space in a way that's authentic, and then also when you're people pleasing, and where to find the balance in between that?
Good question. I don't know if I have a short answer for that. I might need to think. But I think it comes back to trust, and how much trust you have in other people's ability to contain their own emotions.
Oh,
I think it comes down to that. I know that I sometimes don't speak my mind because I think that they're not able to take the truth. And I don't want to disrupt their perceived self. And then I'm kind of taking up too much space because I'm taking the responsibility for them, which is not good. And yeah, as Christopher says, tell them the truth. It's so much better. Because who am I to judge their ability to contain my opinion? So I think, and so then the answer potentially becomes, it goes back to my own ability to weigh my own emotions and be like, the emotions I feel right now, are they necessary? What do they contribute to the conversation? Because when I teach classes, and if I'm having a shit day, I'm not gonna communicate those emotions, because it disrupts the wholeness of what we're doing. So yeah, I think it comes down to that, being self-aware, but not so self-aware that we monitor ourselves. Yeah, just be self-aware. I gotta take off though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you, Peter.
thanks for coming.
Seeing you guys again.
Take it easy.
Take care.
Yeah, I resonate a lot with what Peter said, and I feel like it is being self-aware, being aware of others, and then obviously there is situational awareness that's involved, because it's a very much read the room type of situation. If someone's having a bad day, you don't necessarily want to have a deep conversation with them in that moment. But I do feel like a lot of it is experimenting. Like what Vishad was saying, is you're just going to have to experiment, and you're going to figure it out as you go. And sometimes what worked this time works, and sometimes what did work last time doesn't work now. And sometimes it's just applicable to a situation and a person. So I feel like a lot of it is just the learning process is lifelong.
Yeah, we're always a student.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, did anyone else have anything else to add?
Yeah, going back to what Ken, I wish Peter would have heard this, but I have to say this. If you want to figure out who you are to other people, surround yourself with other people. Friends, family, doesn't matter. If you want to find out who your authentic human self is, live alone for a year. Don't talk to anyone. Do nothing but self-improvement, whatever, figure yourself out. Because if people keep saying, you're this, you're that, that's just another mask. That's not really your authentic human self. If you want to find out who you are behind this body, go out in nature and be a hermit for a year. No phone, no nothing. Because the trees, nature, doesn't matter where it is, as long as there's no mind. If it's animals and nature, but no other human beings, you just need to stay away from human beings. If they come up to you, start throwing rocks at them. That's if you want to find out who you are beyond this body. But yeah, there's 3 stages to that. But most of us are not going to be the hermit one. But figuring out who we are, like just our authentic self, yeah, I think the trick is just to get away from everybody. Focus on you, and then you'll figure out you, and then you'll attract who's actually supposed to be in your life. Miraculously. That's just how it works. Because when we're trying to seek attention, we're not finding what we're looking for. We always find what we're looking for when we look inside, and then we radiate who we really are, and then people who are drawn to that are your people. People who aren't drawn to that, good. They need to go somewhere else.